He used a sprung rhythm and meter, it was like unusual, but it was kind of like a personal taste of his that he typically liked to use. He also used intense alliterations and consonants, and this allowed his word choice to create a kind of tension for the reader, to really add on like to the effect and make the reader like feel what the poem was talking about. There's also a lot of use of imagery and metaphors, which I'll get into in a second. And his rhyme scheme also kind of like obviously is the poetic element, but it helps the reader to kind of understand and feel the poem. He also used accent marks to force specific stresses, just to give like different words like natural intensities. And he used assonance to create a mournful internal kind of like music that underscores like the somber tone of the poem overall. So some literary devices he uses. So he uses an allusion when kind of like talking about fall. Like this can kind of reference the biblical fall of Adam and Eve and like the loss of their kind of like grace. And again, like he was actually a priest for a little bit. So, and also Christianity and like Catholicism and just like religion in general was like a pretty big topic at the time. And so he like references like the fall of like human nature. He also uses a pun to link seasonal change with human mortality. He also uses a simile when talking about the perishing of like nature in contrast to like the mortality of man, how it's kind of like the big picture is the same thing. Obviously it's like physically not the same thing, but that's why it's a simile, because he compares the two in such a way. He also uses anaphora, which is like a repeating of like no or like nar or different like forms of the word no in the last line of a poem. And he kind of does this in creating like a sense of tragic inevitability. So we see this in the poem. So some different symbolism that we see is nature. Again, this is kind of in the title and throughout the poem, but the title refers to like the seasons, like spring like representing childhood and fall kind of representing adulthood. So it's just kind of like that adjustment and that change. And then also like the leaves falling is like kind of shows like it's like obviously like the changing of seasons, but this is just more symbolism he uses for like kind of like just like time passing overall and maturing and getting older and learning all these new things. And then he also, like I said before, uses the symbolism of the fall. So obviously this is Adam and Eve. It's a biblical story, and it represents like Adam and Eve, like their fall from grace in Eden, leading to the introduction of sin, decay, and like mortality. So again, it's kind of like as we get older, we get more inclined to sin. Our health will sometimes deteriorate, and we become a lot more like mindful of our mortality. The fall is also pretty symbolic because it just overall kind of shows like the big changes like in the changing of seasons, like especially from fall and it's like the seasons that come. It's just a big change. It's a big adjustment, just like growing older and becoming aware of your mortality, just decay, all of that. So in this poem, the author uses a lot of imagery and metaphorical terms. So some of the ones that we see are golden growth, which is nature's bounty, unleaving, which could be decaying or dying, or wanwood, meaning lifeless forest, leaf meal, meaning decaying in stages. So it's kind of like, it's like growing older. It's like you don't all of a sudden become old. You have birthdays, like you work up to it. And then blight, which could be like the mortality or the fallen nature of man. Thanks for listening to my presentation. I hope you like it. Bye. For my poetry project, I decided to do Spring and Fall by Gerard Manley Hollis.